Welcome back, everyone, to another long and relaxing episode of the English Hour. I'm your host, Sophia, and joining me again is our thoughtful guest Jacob. Hey Jacob, how are you doing today?
Hi, Sophia. I'm doing great. Thank you. I've been looking forward to this chat because improving English listening is a huge topic, and I think we're going to dive into some helpful stuff.
Absolutely. Listening is one of those skills that feels passive, but it's actually super active, right?
Definitely. A lot of people think you just have to hear English and somehow you'll understand it over time. But there's a difference between hearing and actually listening with intention.
That's a great point. And maybe we can start by talking about what you mean by listening with intention. How is that different from just hearing?
Well, when you hear something, it's just background noise, like music playing in a cafe while you're doing something else. But listening with intention means you're actively trying to understand what's being said, focusing on tone, vocabulary, sentence structure, even emotions behind the words.
So if someone's watching a TV series in English while scrolling their phone, that's not really helping them, right?
Exactly. That's more like passive exposure. It's not bad, but it won't improve your listening skills as quickly as focused listening will. When you listen actively, your brain starts to connect sounds to meaning much faster.
I love that. I've met learners who watch English shows with subtitles in their own language, and they think they're learning. But then they struggle to understand even basic conversations.
That happens a lot. Subtitles in your own language can be a trap. Your brain just reads the translation and ignores the English audio. One trick I often suggest is to start with subtitles in English, then try watching the same content again with no subtitles at all.
That's great advice. Repetition helps too, right?
Oh yeah, huge. Repetition is a secret weapon. Listening to the same audio again and again helps your brain catch words and phrases it missed the first time.
What about the kind of content people should listen to? Should beginners go straight to podcasts like this one?
It depends. Podcasts like this are great because they're conversational and natural. But if you're just starting out, you might need something a little slower. Audiobooks or beginner-friendly listening materials are good stepping stones.
Do you think learners should slow down the audio speed when listening?
In the beginning, sure. Slowing it down to 75% or 80% can really help catch the words. But they shouldn't stay in that comfort zone forever. Eventually, you have to listen at natural speed if you want to handle real-world conversations.
And sometimes that can be frustrating, can't it? Like when someone talks fast or uses slang, it's hard to keep up.
Very true. But that frustration is actually a good sign. It means your brain is being challenged. And the more you expose yourself to real English different accents, speaking speeds, topics, the more adaptable your ears become.
I think a lot of people get discouraged because they expect to understand everything immediately. But that's not realistic.
Not at all. Even native speakers don't catch every single word in a conversation. What matters is understanding the meaning, the context. Learners should focus on that instead of translating every word.
That's such an important reminder. And let's talk about accents for a moment. English has so many British, American, Australian, and even different regional ones.
Yes, and they can be really confusing at first. My advice is to start with one accent, usually the one you enjoy most or will use most often, then later, slowly introduce others.
That's smart. Personally, I like British accents, but I've been listening to a lot of American content lately because it's everywhere.
Same here. And actually, once you get the rhythm of one accent, your brain starts noticing the patterns in others. It gets easier with time.
Let's go deeper into practical ways people can improve their listening. What do you think of shadowing?
Shadowing is fantastic. For those who don't know, it means listening to something and repeating it immediately, trying to match the speaker's pronunciation, tone, and speed.
Like echoing, right?
Exactly. It trains your ears and your mouth at the same time. You're not just improving your listening, you're also working on speaking and pronunciation.
That's multitasking in the best way. Do you recommend doing this with YouTube videos, podcasts, or something else?
I usually suggest starting with short clips, maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute. You can use YouTube, TED Talks, or scenes from TV shows. Just make sure the audio is clear and the speaker isn't talking too fast.
What's a good daily routine for someone who wants to seriously improve their listening?
I'd say something like this: 15 minutes of focused listening to a podcast or audiobook, 10 minutes of shadowing, 10 minutes of repeating a conversation or trying to summarize it out loud. Then, maybe 10 minutes of watching a show just for fun but with English subtitles.
That sounds super manageable. Just around 45 minutes a day, but focused.
Exactly. Consistency is more important than long hours. Even 30 minutes a day adds up over time if you're really concentrating.
I think we should talk a bit about listening and vocabulary. A lot of learners struggle because they don't know enough words.
That's true. Listening helps build vocabulary, but it works both ways. The more words you know, the more you'll understand when you listen.
So, maybe a good tip is to write down new words while listening.
Absolutely. Keep a notebook or use a phone app. Write down the word, what it means, and maybe an example sentence. Then try to use it during the day. That makes it stick.
I've also heard learners say they pause a lot while listening to look up words. Is that a good idea?
It depends. If you're doing focused practice, pausing is okay. But you shouldn't interrupt the flow too much. Maybe listen once without stopping, then go back and pause the second time to check words.
Great balance. What do you think about listening to English while doing chores or walking?
That's more passive listening, but still helpful. It keeps your ears familiar with the sounds of English. You may not catch every detail, but over time your brain starts to recognize patterns.
So it's like background training for your ears.
Exactly. And it's perfect for busy people. You can listen while cooking, driving, or even showering.
What about songs? Can music help improve listening?
Songs are tricky. They're fun, but lyrics can be poetic and not always natural English. Still, they help with rhythm and pronunciation. Just don't rely only on music for learning.
And singing along is like shadowing, right?
It is, especially for pronunciation and fluency. Karaoke apps can be surprisingly good for English practice.
I love this conversation already, and we've just scratched the surface. Let's keep going deeper into this. One thing I've noticed is that people often feel nervous, or even embarrassed, when they can't understand something in English. How much do emotions affect listening?
A lot, actually. When you're anxious or stressed, your brain doesn't process information as efficiently. So if someone's nervous, they might miss words they already know just because they're tense.
That makes total sense. I remember when I first started learning Spanish, I froze when someone spoke too fast. I knew the words, but I just couldn't keep up.
Exactly. It's like your brain goes into panic mode. That's why a calm mindset is so important. If learners tell themselves, "It's okay if I don't understand everything," they'll improve much faster.
So managing stress is part of learning English too.
For sure, I always recommend deep breathing before a conversation or listening practice. It sounds small, but it helps you stay relaxed and focused.
Let's talk about people who say they don't have time to practice listening. How can they fit it into their daily life?
Great question. The truth is, you can turn almost any moment into listening time. If you're commuting, put on an English podcast. If you're brushing your teeth, play a short clip. If you're waiting in line, try a 1-minute YouTube video.
I love that. It's about using those small pockets of time. They really add up.
Exactly. 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. It doesn't have to be all at once. And over a week, it could turn into several hours of exposure.
What about watching shows with native speakers who talk really fast? Should learners avoid that?
Not avoid, but approach carefully. If someone jumps into a fast-paced show too early, it can be discouraging. Start with slower content or videos made for English learners, then gradually move up to natural, speed conversations.
Can we give our listeners a few names of shows or YouTube channels that are great for improving listening?
Sure, for beginners, BBC Learning English is excellent. For intermediate learners, English Addict with Mr. Steve is fun and clear. And for advanced learners, shows like Friends or The Office are perfect because the conversations are very natural.
I'd also add, Speak English with Vanessa. Her videos are super clear, friendly, and full of great tips.
Oh yes, she's great. And her topics are very relatable, so learners stay engaged.
Speaking of engagement, do you think people should take notes while they listen?
It depends on the goal. If they're studying, yes, take notes on new phrases or expressions. But if they're listening just to enjoy the content, it's okay to skip the notes and focus on the flow.
What's your opinion on watching the same video multiple times?
I'm a huge fan of that. The first time, just listen. The second time, use subtitles. Third time, try shadowing. By the fourth time, try summarizing the content in your own words.
That's a powerful technique. I call it the replay and level up method.
I love that. It's a great name, and it really works. Each replay gives your brain a deeper understanding.
What about dictation exercises? Do those help?
Absolutely. Listening to a short clip and trying to write down exactly what you hear is a great way to train your ears. It also improves spelling and grammar.
And then learners can check their writing with the transcript. Right?
Yes, many YouTube videos have automatic captions now, or learners can use scripts from podcasts. It's a bit challenging, but super rewarding.
Let's imagine a listener who wants to go from, I understand nothing, to, I can follow a full English conversation. What steps should they take?
Step 1: stop translating everything in your head. Instead, try to think in English even if it's slow at first. Step 2: choose short, clear listening content, just 1 to 2 minutes at first. Step 3: listen every day. Make it a habit. Step 4: repeat, repeat, repeat.
That's really helpful. I'd also add, don't be afraid to pause and rewind. It's not cheating, it's learning.
Exactly. And try to focus on chunks of language, not just individual words. For example, here, how's it going? As a full phrase, not 3 separate words.
I've noticed that too. English has so many expressions where the meaning is totally different from the individual words.
Yes, and that's why learners should pay attention to rhythm and intonation, not just vocabulary.
Speaking of rhythm, let's touch on pronunciation. Does improving listening also help with pronunciation?
100%. Listening is like input training. The more accurate English you hear, the more your brain absorbs the sound patterns. Over time, your speaking starts to reflect that.
So listening is kind of like a mirror for speaking.
Exactly. If you hear clear English, you're more likely to speak clearly. And that's why shadowing and repetition are so effective. They connect listening with speaking in real time.
I once had a student who couldn't pronounce world. But after hearing it hundreds of times in songs and shows, it just clicked for him one day.
That's so common. Sometimes it takes hearing the same word in different contexts before it sinks in. Listening helps create those connections in the brain.
Let's talk about listening for emotion. How important is it to catch feelings or tones while listening?
Very important. Understanding how something is said can be just as important as what is said. For example, I'm fine can mean totally different things based on tone.
That's true. A sarcastic, I'm fine, and a sincere one are worlds apart.
And being able to recognize that helps learners respond more appropriately in real conversations. It's a higher level skill, but it's worth practicing.
Maybe we should give our listeners a challenge. Something they can try today to boost their listening skills.
Great idea. How about this? Choose a 2-minute English video. Watch it once with subtitles, once without, and once while shadowing. Then try to retell the video in your own words.
That's a fantastic challenge. And if they do it every day, their listening will improve like crazy.
Totally. Just 2 minutes a day with focus can lead to big changes over time.
Let's talk about listening in real conversations now. What should learners do when they don't understand what someone is saying?
First, don't panic. It's okay to ask people to repeat themselves. You can say, sorry, could you say that again? Or, I didn't catch that.
I love that phrase. I didn't catch that. It sounds very natural.
Right? It's polite, casual, and used all the time by native speakers.
Should learners try to guess the meaning from context too?
Yes, context is your best friend. Even if you miss a word, look at the situation, the speaker's tone, and body language. That often tells you more than the word itself.
And if learners don't understand a full sentence, is it okay to ask someone to speak more slowly?
Absolutely. You can say, "Could you speak a little slower, please?" Most people will appreciate the honesty and try to help.
That's encouraging. Language learning is all about being brave, isn't it?
Yes, making mistakes, asking questions, trying again, that's how progress happens.
I love where this conversation is going. There's so much more we can explore on this topic.
Definitely one thing we haven't touched on yet is accents. A lot of learners struggle with understanding different English accents.
Yes, that's such a big challenge. American, British, Australian, even regional accents within one country can vary so much.
Exactly. And the key to getting better at understanding accents is, again, exposure. Learners should actively listen to a mix of accents instead of sticking to just one.
Like, maybe one week focus on American podcasts, the next week switch to a British YouTuber.
Spot on, and they don't have to understand everything at first. It's about training their ears to hear different rhythms and pronunciations.
I also think movies and documentaries are helpful. They often include a variety of speakers.
Yes, especially documentaries. They feature experts, locals, and people of different backgrounds all speaking in natural tones. It's a goldmine for listening practice.
What would you say to learners who are afraid to listen without subtitles?
I'd say start with subtitles, but try to move away from them over time. One trick is to watch once with subtitles, then once without, and then a final time with subtitles again to check what you missed.
That's really smart. It's like using subtitles as a learning tool, not a crutch.
Exactly. The goal is to build confidence, not dependence.
Do you think learners should listen to content that's slightly above their current level, or at their level?
A mix of both. Listening at their level builds comfort, and slightly above helps them grow. It's okay to struggle a bit, it means they're stretching their skills.
What about kids' shows? Are they useful for beginners?
Absolutely, they're designed to be clear, repetitive, and slow-paced. Shows like Peppa Pig, Dora the Explorer, or Sesame Street are fantastic for new learners.
Plus, they're fun. No shame in watching cartoons to learn English.
Definitely not. I know adults who improve their English just by watching Dora the Explorer.
Another thing I've seen is learners who listen but don't interact. They just sit passively. What's your take on that?
Great point. Passive listening is fine sometimes, like when you're tired. But for real improvement, active listening is key.
Can you give us an example of active listening?
Sure, active listening means asking questions while you listen. What's the main idea? What did that person just say? Can I repeat that phrase myself? And it helps to pause and summarize after each section.
So it's like having a conversation with the content, even if it's just in your head.
Exactly, and repeating key phrases out loud helps reinforce the sounds and sentence patterns.
I think learners forget how important speaking while listening is.
Yeah, they feel silly sometimes, but speaking while listening builds muscle memory. It's what helps them produce those sounds naturally.
What are some signs that a learner's listening skills are actually improving?
Great question. One big sign is they start understanding more without needing subtitles. Another is they recognize common phrases instantly. They also become faster at guessing meanings from context.
And maybe they stop translating in their head.
Yes, that's a major breakthrough. Thinking directly in English is a huge sign of listening progress.
Some learners also say they dream in English once they get good at listening.
That's so true. It's a good sign that their brain is internalizing the language.
Let's talk about music. Can listening to English songs really help?
100% music improves rhythm, vocabulary, pronunciation, and even emotional connection to the language.
I still remember learning tons of expressions from Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift songs.
Same here, songs like Photograph or Love Story are full of useful phrases and natural intonation.
And learners can find lyrics online and follow along. That's great for word recognition.
Yes, and singing along improves fluency. It's fun, too.
Do you have a favorite English song for learning?
I always recommend Count on Me by Bruno Mars for beginners. It's slow, clear, and has a lovely message.
That's a beautiful song. And how about for intermediate learners?
Maybe Someone Like You by Adele. The emotions help with listening to tone, and the pace is still manageable.
I've also heard learners benefit from audiobooks. What's your opinion?
Audiobooks are fantastic, especially if they're paired with the physical book or ebook. Learners can follow along with the text as they listen.
That sounds like a perfect combo, listening and reading at the same time.
Yes, and platforms like Audible or LibriVox have tons of options for all levels.
Should learners choose fiction or nonfiction audiobooks?
Whatever they enjoy, fiction is great for stories, emotions, and dialogues. Nonfiction is good for structure, facts, and professional vocabulary.
I personally love listening to biographies. They feel like real conversations.
Me too. Plus, they teach a lot about culture, which helps learners understand the background behind words.
That's so important. Language isn't just words, it's culture, emotion, and connection.
Exactly. And the more learners understand the culture, the easier it becomes to follow real-life conversations.
Jacob, I feel like we could go on forever about this.
Honestly, this topic is endless, and that's a good thing. There are always new ways to help people connect with the English language.
Totally agree. I think it would be helpful if we talk about common mistakes learners make when trying to improve their listening.
Great idea. One of the biggest mistakes is focusing too much on understanding every single word.
Yes, they get stuck when they don't understand one word, and then they miss the rest of the sentence.
Exactly. In real conversations, even native speakers miss words sometimes. The goal should be to understand the overall meaning, not every little detail.
So true. I remember listening to a podcast years ago and thinking, I have no idea what that word means. But I still understood what they were talking about.
That's the right mindset. It's okay to guess based on the context. Language is about communication, not perfection.
Another mistake I see is learners listening to something once and giving up if it feels hard.
Yes, repetition is key. Listening once is like watching a movie trailer. You don't catch everything the first time.
Right. So watching or listening helps your brain recognize new sounds, words, and patterns.
Definitely. And the more you hear something, the more your brain starts to expect it. That's how fluency builds.
Do you recommend learners use listening journals?
Absolutely, writing down what they listened to, what they understood, and what they didn't, it helps track progress.
I love that idea. And they could also write down new phrases they hear, right?
Exactly. They can create their own phrasebook. Listening is great, but if you write and review what you hear, it goes deeper into your memory.
That's a beautiful combination: listening, writing, and reflecting.
Yes. And if they can speak what they heard too, it covers almost every skill.
Let's talk about real life situations. How can learners prepare to understand English in everyday life, like in airports, stores, or on the phone?
Excellent point. Real-world listening is different from scripted content. It's faster, less clear, and full of background noise.
I always tell learners to start practicing with real life recordings. Maybe record conversations or use apps that simulate those environments.
Yes, apps like ELSA, Fluent U, or even YouTube videos of customer service calls or vlogs are great.
Oh, vlogs are amazing because they show real people talking naturally.
Exactly. And learners should focus not only on the words, but the rhythm, tone, and even body language if it's a video.
Have you ever had a student who struggled with phone conversations?
So many times, phones are tough because you can't see the other person's face, so no lip reading or gestures.
What did you advise them to do?
I recommended listening to customer service calls or using apps that simulate phone dialogues. Practicing with voice-only audio builds confidence.
That's smart. And also, they could record themselves and listen back to check how they sound.
Yes, it builds self-awareness and helps them hear their own pronunciation more clearly.
How about learners who live in non-English speaking countries? How can they create an English listening environment?
That's a challenge, but it's totally possible. The key is to surround yourself with English on purpose.
Like setting your phone and apps to English, right?
Exactly. Change your phone language, use English when searching online, follow English speaking influencers, and make playlists of English music or podcasts.
It's like building your own English world, even if everyone around you speaks another language.
Yes, and finding a speaking partner or joining online communities also helps.
Discord groups, Facebook groups, or language exchanges.
Yep, even spending 10 minutes a day listening to English can make a big difference over time.
I love that. So it's about being intentional, choosing to make English part of your daily life.
Exactly. Think of English as a friend you hang out with every day, not just a subject you study.
That's such a cool way to look at it. Language is a relationship, not a test.
Yes, and the more you interact with it through listening, speaking, reading, the stronger that relationship becomes.
Have you ever had a personal moment where listening changed how you felt about learning a language?
Oh, definitely. When I first watched a movie in a new language and understood full scenes without subtitles, it gave me goosebumps.
That's such a powerful feeling. It makes you realize how far you've come.
Yes, and I want every learner to feel that. It's not about being perfect, it's about understanding, connecting, and growing.
I hope our listeners are getting inspired by this conversation, because everything you've said is incredibly helpful.
Thank you, Sophia. And I hope they know that it's okay to struggle. Every great listener once started as a beginner.
Absolutely. Everyone starts somewhere, and with consistent listening practice, anyone can become fluent. Let's talk about shadowing now. It's a technique I hear about a lot. What is it exactly?
Shadowing is when you listen to something in English and immediately try to repeat it at the same time or just after, like you're the speaker's shadow.
Oh, so it's like echoing the speaker word for word.
Exactly. You're not just repeating, you're mimicking the pronunciation, rhythm, intonation, and even the emotion.
That sounds super effective. But is it difficult for beginners?
It can be at first, which is why I suggest starting with short sentences or slow, speed audio. Subtitled videos also help when you're just beginning.
And what type of content is best for shadowing practice?
Podcasts with clear pronunciation, news reports, or slow dialogues from language learning platforms are perfect.
I used to shadow TED Talks when I was learning public speaking. It helped so much with fluency and confidence.
Exactly, shadowing is amazing for both listening and speaking. You hear natural English and train your mouth to produce it at the same time.
It's like muscle memory for your ears and tongue.
I love that way of putting it. Yes, the more you shadow, the easier it gets.
Let's move on to active vs passive listening. What's the difference?
Passive listening is when you have English in the background, you're not focused on it. Like playing an English podcast while cleaning.
I do that a lot when I cook.
Same here. It's still useful because it exposes your brain to natural sounds, but it's not as powerful as active listening.
So what is active listening, then?
That's when you focus 100% on the audio. You're trying to understand, take notes, or even pause and repeat phrases.
More like studying the audio instead of just hearing it.
Exactly. It's deeper and leads to faster progress. Ideally, learners should do both passive throughout the day and active during focused practice.
That's a balanced routine. Maybe an hour of active practice, and the rest as passive exposure.
That's perfect. Even 20 minutes of daily active listening can transform someone's comprehension.
I'd love to hear a success story. Do you have a student who struggled with listening, but made amazing progress?
Oh yes, there's one student I'll never forget. Her name was Amina. She was a beginner from Morocco who was terrified of listening.
What was her main problem?
She said, "I understand written English, but when people speak, it sounds like a waterfall,"
That's such a relatable metaphor.
right? So we built a plan. She started with children's stories with audio, then moved to TED Ed videos with subtitles. Every day she listened, paused, repeated.
Did she do shadowing too?
Yes, after a few weeks. Then she started watching sitcoms with subtitles, repeating dialogues out loud.
That's amazing. What happened after a few months?
After 6 months, she joined an online English club and started having real conversations. Her listening improved so much that she could understand native speakers at normal speed.
That's so inspiring. It proves that with consistency and the right strategy, anyone can make big progress.
100%. The key is to stay patient and keep going even on days when it feels frustrating.
Let's talk about some tech tools. What apps or websites do you recommend for improving listening skills?
I have a few favorites. First, BBC Learning English. It's free with tons of audio content and transcripts.
I love that one. And they explain vocabulary too, which is helpful.
Exactly. Then there's LO. Or great for hearing different accents from around the world.
Oh yes, it's a hidden gem.
Another one is lyrics training. You listen to songs and fill in the lyrics. It's super fun and builds listening speed.
I've tried that. It's addictive and great for catching small words like gonna or wanna.
Exactly. For podcasts, I recommend The English We Speak, Voice of America, and of course, The English Hour.
How you read my mind.
And tools like Youglish let you search for how any English word is pronounced in real video clips. It's amazing for pronunciation.
I've used that too. It helps learners hear how a word is used naturally in different contexts.
Right? And Google Podcasts or Spotify are full of free English content learners can use on the go.
What would you say to someone who says, I've been listening to English for months, but I'm still not improving?
Great question. I'd say check your method, not just your time.
What do you mean?
If you've been passively listening without any engagement, you may not retain much. You need to interact with the audio, pause, repeat, write, speak.
That makes a big difference. Listening alone isn't enough, you have to work with what you hear.
Exactly, and variety matters too. Try different voices, accents, speeds, and topics.
Otherwise, you might only get used to one accent or one style.
Yes, and then you freeze in real situations when the speaker sounds different.
It's like training your ears to be flexible.
That's it. Listening is like a gym for your brain. You have to work different muscles. Comedy, news, interviews, fast talkers, slow speakers.
Love that analogy. So listening should be active, varied, and fun.
And consistent. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day, do it every day.
Consistency wins every time. One thing we haven't explored yet is accent training. Many learners feel stuck when they hear different accents.
Yes, it's a common struggle. American, British, Australian, Indian, each one can sound like a different language at first.
Totally. I remember the first time I heard a Scottish accent. I thought, wait, is this still English?
Haha. Yes, and that's why I encourage learners to expose themselves to all kinds of accents.
How can they do that easily?
YouTube is fantastic for this. Just search British street interviews, Indian English speaker interview, Australian news, or Irish podcast.
That's brilliant. And no need for perfect understanding, just listening regularly makes a big difference.
Right? At first, just listen. Then over time, try to pick out words, then full phrases, then meaning. It builds like a puzzle.
Let's do something fun. Can we simulate a little listening class right now?
Sure, let's imagine I'm the teacher, and I'll play a clip from a movie or podcast. You're the student.
Ready?
Okay, here's the line. I gotta catch the next train, or I'll be late for the big meeting.
Got it. First step, listen.
Great, now repeat it out loud.
I gotta catch the next train, or I'll be late for the big meeting.
Excellent, now let's break it down. Gotta means got to, which is informal. And the phrase, catch the train, means get on the train in time.
So this sentence means the person must hurry to not be late.
Now we shadow it together. Ready?
Ready.
I gotta catch the next train, or I'll be late for the big meeting.
I gotta catch the next train, or I'll be late for the big meeting.
Perfect. See how a simple sentence teaches you vocabulary, pronunciation, and context.
And you can pause and repeat it as many times as needed.
That's the beauty of using media for learning. It's like having a flexible English teacher 24/7.
Honestly, this episode has been packed with gold. I feel like even I learned a few things today.
Me too. Talking through it reinforces everything.
So before we wrap up, let's give our listeners a super quick recap. Top 3 tips for improving English listening.
Number 1, practice active listening with focus, pause, repeat, take notes.
Number 2, mix content, songs, movies, podcasts, interviews.
And number 3, be consistent, make it part of your daily life.
Amazing advice. And don't forget shadowing, it's a total game changer.
Absolutely. And most importantly, don't get discouraged. It's okay to not understand everything. Just keep listening.
Well, Jacob, thank you for being here again. Your tips are always so practical and motivating.
It's always a pleasure, Sophia. This topic is close to my heart because I've seen so many learners transform their English just by changing their listening habits.
And thank you to everyone listening to the English Hour. Remember, your ears are powerful tools. Train them, trust them, and keep going.
Keep your headphones on, keep those minds open, and never stop learning.
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay consistent, and stay connected.